Hi everyone, welcome back to Hooked On Onyx, the segment where we talk about coffee things with coffee people. Today we're talking about something a little bit coffee adjacent, and so to do that, we have Preston, which is very exciting. Could you introduce yourself and also your role here at Onyx?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Preston Stewart. Most people call me Stu. I am the director of chocolate here at Onyx.
Which is like the coolest job ever, by the way.
I am the Dakota equivalent of for cacao as he is coffee. I also help out quite a bit in like R&D with drinks and pastries. Occasionally drive a forklift if needed. So a little bit of everything, but chocolate is really my focus.
Forklift on the side.
Yeah.
Well, we have some stuff in front of us, and this is called Terroir, which is a project of Onyx's that has been around for a little bit, and it pulls from a lot of the principles that we apply to coffee. So in kind of a short summary, how would you describe terroir chocolate?
Yeah, so terroir, like the word itself, is the French term for the land. And it encompasses more than just like the geographical dirt. It's like the soil, sunlight, rainfall, surrounding crops, all the things that kind of make a product usually have a sense of place. So it's really big in the wine industry. So like California terroir, Cabernets,
Sure.
Mendoza, Argentina, Malbec, like people associate different places with different products.
Yep.
And so a lot of terroir applications can be pulled that are in coffee also to cacao. They're like grown in the same regions of the world, in the tropics. A lot of times same sub-regions, like Huila, Colombia has a lot of coffee, but like a little bit further, closer to the coast, there's a lot of cacao. So there's a lot of geographical and agricultural similarities to coffee and cacao. And terroir as a project is a way to highlight those things and not only get things from the same regions, but also hopefully from the same farms in the future so that we can have more synergy with the farming partners that we work with in coffee, because more products, more relationship, more commerce.
There are only so many harvests for coffee in a
Right.
season.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When did Terroir start here at Onyx?
So Terroir started at Onyx before I came along. I've been here for about 2.5 years. I think the inception of it was maybe about 4 years ago, with an attempt to, bring things from coffee farms to highlight. So there was initially some honey that we got from a farm in Guatemala. There was work with other chocolate and coffee. I was involved.
Combinations.
I was involved back then as well, but not with Onyx. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I've kind of been around since it started.
Well, we have some fun stuff to look through that are finished products, but you also have some examples of kind of the cacao anatomy, I want to call it. So can you walk us through some of what we have here?
Sure, yeah. So if you think about, a tree having a fruit, this is a wooden replica, a very realistic one of a cocoa pod.
You walked in with it, and I was like, where did we source these from?
It's like an alien football. So yeah, cacao grows on trees, similar to coffee on shrubs. It's kind of a tree-shrub hybrid. But a cocoa pod, similar to coffee, usually it takes 4 to 5 years for a plant to produce like a decent harvest.
Yeah.
Whereas coffee, you've got like dozens of cherries per branch, I guess. Cocoa pods, there's usually 1 or 2 per branch. They kind of grow more off the trunk than they do off like a branch, because they're so heavy they can like weigh the tree down.
For sure.
But if you were to open one of these up, you would find, this is also a replica, but
it's very accurate, having seen the real life things of these kind of recently.
So yeah, a cocoa pod, when cracked open, it's kind of like the shell of a pumpkin almost. Like it's pretty hard, gourd-like. But inside there's a cluster of seeds. We call them cocoa beans eventually, but they're surrounded by a slimy, sweet, sour mucilage, kind of like the fruit of a coffee.
Interesting texture for sure.
Yeah, it's delicious, but definitely strange.
Yeah.
And so cocoa farmers will either harvest pods, transport them to a place, and then crack them open to get the beans out, or they'll do that in the field to take the wet cacao, the wet baba, out and leave the pods to fertilize the fields.
Sure.
And then similar to coffee, it gets fermented for a lot longer time, like 3 to 5 days usually, 5 to 7.
Yeah.
And then sun-dried, patio style. So there's a lot of like
Very, very
processing
similar,
similarities between coffee and cocoa as well.
How does it arrive here? How do we buy it? And then what do we do with it to get it into this very, very beautiful format that it eventually turns into?
Yeah, so in country, they will do the harvest, the fermentation and drying, and then also like sorting, grading, and bagging. So we receive dried, fermented cocoa beans. They look kind of like dirty almonds, almost. So this is the green coffee equivalent for cocoa.
Sure.
Then we'll roast them in-house, winnow them, which is removing the shell. So you can see there's like a kind of a wispy paper-like shell that needs to be removed. That's mostly just fiber and cellulose to get to the good stuff, the nibs. And nibs are what become chocolate.
Right here.
Yeah. So those are roasted. You can snack on them if you like. Kind of a superfood, super high in antioxidants, fiber, iron, magnesium. I like them straight up. A lot of people put them on salads or smoothies, but this is the precursor to chocolate.
Fascinating. Now we have a couple boxes here. We have a special one we're going to talk about here in a second, but we also have some pretty much evergreen chocolate offerings as well. And we have 2 boxes here if we want to crack into some of these.
Sure, yeah. So there's these little, we've got 12 different bars that we have as kind of our staple offerings right now. Some pure dark chocolates, some milk chocolates, some dark chocolate with stuff in them, inclusions, a couple of white chocolates as well. So
there's a cappuccino white chocolate.
Kind of try to highlight all
tasty.
here's the cappuccino chocolate. So we use tropical weather, the super bright, fruity Ethiopian coffee, freeze dry it, and then add it into white chocolate. So it's got this nice, bright, fruity coffee note, but it's not the, I guess, generic bitterness from like if you were to use coffee grounds.
Absolutely.
So that's a fun, one of my faves.
We have one other really special white chocolate here. This is our Valentine's Day offering, which will be linked below because it is going to be limited offering. It's super, super tasty. So I don't know if you want to open up one as well.
Go for it.
This is going to be my first look at it, actually.
The unboxing.
Yes, a true unboxing. What is in this one?
So this is a white chocolate. Some people are like, what is in white chocolate? It's generically, it's cocoa butter, milk powder, and sugar. Often, if it's plain white chocolate, it's flavored with vanilla.
Sure.
For this one, we added some dried strawberry and dried raspberry powders to give it some zip, some pink, and to make it a little bit more, I would say, unique. I added in some unflavored pop rocks. So culinary crystals.
Ooh.
So it's got.
Pardon me while I just eat this for the rest of the video.
It's got a little bit of fizz in it, and so sparkling rosé was kind of the inspiration behind this bar.
It's delicious.
I wouldn't say that it has the rosé or rose quality, but fruity, fizzy, sweet. So.
Do you have any other favorites of the evergreens? Because you mentioned there's the white chocolate. Got so many in here. I know there's a spiced one right now as well, like a spicy, like Fiji chocolate, I believe.
Yep. It's a blend of cacao from Fiji and Vietnam. So Fiji is kind of earthy, Vietnam's a little spicy. And then I ground in some Korean chili into the chocolate, so it's got some heat. And then sprinkled it with some dried mango to balance the heat.
It out a little bit.
Little mango habanero inspiration from like Buffalo Wild Wings.
As it should be.
One of my faves is it's a chai milk chocolate. So I actually got some cacao from India, and like I knew I wanted to use Indian cacao to make a chai bar because it's kind of the birthplace of it.
Absolutely.
And then I had some nibs left over, and I was like, I'll just make a small batch of dark chocolate, and the chocolate is amazing. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to make this again without the chai.
Someone else needs to enjoy this too.
It tastes like a fruity caramel, almost like guava.
Delicious.
But yeah, we work with a local tea company. They've got some fun chai blends, and so we ground chai into the chocolate and then sprinkle it with a little pink peppercorn for texture, but also give it a little bit of kind of like juniper, like a little bit of that.
All about that balance between the sweet and the other sides and inclusions you're bringing in.
Yeah, I'm more of a purist. I like just straight up dark chocolate. My favorite's probably our 69%.
Can you explain? Actually, that's
Madagascar.
Something I wanted to ask. Can you explain what the percentage means when we see that in relation to dark and milk chocolates?
Yeah, so it's easy to kind of discern on dark chocolates because a dark chocolate should only have cacao, sugar, and sometimes cocoa butter if needed. A lot of big manufacturers will add lecithin, which is kind of a 4-letter word in craft chocolate. It's a fat that's used to help it like smooth, like move easier.
Sure.
Usually in their big machines and pipes, so it's kind of a molecular lubricant. But we don't use lecithin because it's not really necessary.
Sure.
Kind of gives it a waxy texture. But for dark chocolate, the percentage is the total cocoa content. So
Gotcha.
for us, that comes from cocoa nibs, and some bars we add cocoa butter. Like for a little bit sweeter dark chocolate, you've got more sugar. So this is 69% cacao, therefore 31% sugar.
Gotcha.
If you go in the sweeter side, you're adding more sugar, and it gets
You kind of
thick.
stop seeing that percentage at that point because you know it's going to be a sweeter bar in general.
Yeah, so like our 62% from Colombia, it has more added cocoa butter to give it the viscosity needed to work with. Otherwise, it's like super fudgy and doesn't really mold well.
Into a bar.
For milk chocolate, it's a little bit trickier. Like our dark milk chocolate's 52%, but you can't exactly determine that just looking at the label because milk powder's in there as well.
Yeah.
So it's 52% cocoa being nibs and cocoa butter, but then the other 48% is a proprietary blend of sugar and milk powder.
Secrets we can't tell you.
Yeah, so.
That's awesome. Thank you. Well, this has been super, super fun. I personally, I was saying this before we started filming, very selfishly wanted to learn more about Terroir. So this was a really good time for me. And again, we will have this all linked below, including this very special and limited Valentine's Day chocolate. Yep. So thank you, Preston.
Yeah, and if you have any cocoa or chocolatey questions, feel free to
leave them down below.
put them in the comments section, and I'm kind of like I'll nerd out on it, so you can nerd emoji
You
that.
can learn as much as you want to learn.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we will see you all next time. Have a great day.